What in the world? Hello there, Ray here. Welcome back, guys. We got a brand new 1.20 snapshot. This is 23w13a. And with all the big changes that came out in last week's snapshot, in this snapshot, they decided to change a bunch of things. So let's take a look at those. First off, we did get a kind of unusual change. This is where you can scale the GUI, which is normally this button right here. This actually changes how big stuff appears, not only in this menu here, but also like how big stuff is in chest or your inventory, any type of GUI. They gave us a new option where we can just hold the control button on our keyboard, use the scroll wheel to actually change the GUI size, which is really cool. I think I have mine normally set to 3. Pretty good size for you guys to be able to see what I'm doing in game. Unfortunately, you can't actually change this size while clicked into like chest or anywhere else. Even in like the menu, it doesn't work. Only when you click on this video settings does this little shortcut work. So I don't know why. I wish they could add this to maybe some other menus so you could kind of change it easily. I do like sometimes making it bigger when I'm trying to point something out. But what GUI setting do you guys play on? As suspected, this little trick they discovered where you could bone meal up a pitcher plant. On farmland, you could remove the farmland once it's completely grown, so you can have this crazy floating pitcher plant. This trick was fixed, and if you haven't seen my video about crazy things you can do with it, you could actually make wither cages and use it for its unique size. All that video links below. So now when we break the farmland, you can see it pops off and drops as item. Now we can't break the farmland just by jumping on it because we're just gonna end up standing on top of the little root of the plant. Let's see what happens. So you've seen, even in that case, it would still not hold plant and it would just break off. This is unfortunate because it would be nice to get this cool little bulbed plant, but instead of having it on farmland, maybe have it on some grass blocks for one of your survival builds. We could always use update suppression to remove this block without updating the plant, but the method is a lot of work and isn't as accessible on servers. I think if they really just want people to use this lower collision box down here of the root, they could just make it about 1 pixel higher up, but give the people the ability to actually use this cool root in their builds. What do you think about this change? Also, when bone milling it, sometimes it would jump different stages, which is apparently not intended, so it will take more bone meal. So now when you bone mill it, you can see it goes through each of the stages and uses up 1 bone meal. So how does this affect my pitcher plant farm? Went ahead and cleared out the chest there, and you normally would just sit here and hold down, right click, and it seems that it still works. Probably just because I have so many dispensers that can easily get through all the different growth stages by the time it comes around and breaks it. Now you could have that repeater in here, or you could remove it, it's up to you. Without the repeater, you can see the items do get kind of thrown about a little bit. If you stood close enough, you could potentially pick up all the items so they don't fly about. But there is still this problem where if you have a block above one of the pods and you grow it up, you get to this stage, and if you continue bone milling, it actually will keep accepting bone meal, essentially just wasting it and not growing up. This could be a problem in the farm where the piston head comes down, preventing it from growing up, but still using bone meal on it. That's not a problem in my farm with the piston moving up and down really fast, and the plant being completely grown up in the meantime. But overall, it would be nice if they would fix this bug, because it also affects stuff like grass. You got short grass, you can keep wasting bone meal on it because it's trying to grow into a tall one, but it can't. So I'll link the bug report for this bug here, and hopefully this gets fixed, and maybe eventually this bug will also get fixed. And you're now able to bone meal the top one to advance it as well. So with this change, you no longer can get this type of pitcher plant where the top half is actually a complete age of 4, but the bottom half is only an age of 3. And you can notice a difference a little bit. Look at this one compared to this one. You don't see that little blue part hanging down here. That makes this a rare block to collect in the snapshot if you're someone who plays in snapshots to collect rare items and blocks. You can now also use the pod to get the seed placing advancement, and the plants themselves are considered flowers, so you can like breed bees or have bees use them. And they're also considered crops, so they'll work without the farmland converting. Now it seems like they still both break if the farmland isn't considered moist. This is kind of strange because it does actually have that hashtag Minecraft crops on the right hand side. Look at it with F3, which is what the other ones have it, and their farmland doesn't dry out. Maybe the bug never got fixed. It also changes so you can no longer place blocks directly inside of the pitcher plant. This was to make it like other 2 tall flowers. They also made editing signs a bit better, so you can edit signs even if there's something inside of your hand. You'll also be able to edit the sign from an angle, and they won't accidentally give you the glow and behold advancement just for having the glowing without actually using it. They changed a few things with the sniffer. First off, when you were killing them in the past, they would actually drop a moss block as an item. And I guess Bedrock players wanted this for their sniffers, so they made a bug report, but instead of fixing their bug report, they actually removed it, so sniffers will no longer drop moss blocks. Now, I don't really know why they would remove the moss block as a drop, because one moss block, for all the effort it takes to get the sniffer eggs and to breed them up and to get more of them, it just be way too difficult to get moss blocks this way compared to using an efficient moss farm, which I have this nice one here. But it might go back to like Mojang's kind of thing where they don't want players to be killing mobs for resources. What do you guys think about this? It wasn't possible to get the 2x2 advancement where you had to breed up 2 of each mob, and that was because the sniffer weren't producing babies, but instead we're just producing the egg item, but now you will get it once again. Other things they change is they move the digging particles for the sniffer lower, fix several issues to do with the sniffer and its walking speeds, and you'll no longer sit really low within a sniffer when using commands to ride one. For the egg, the game will no longer try to render the bottom of it, and the thing I noticed where sniffer eggs were getting washed away with water wasn't intended, so that will no longer happen. They also removed an invisible age 2 that was with the torchflower. Now there's just age 0 and 1, and then after this, they no longer become a crop, but instead become a torchflower item. Now this stage of the torchflower is only accessible with a debug stick now, but you could consider this a rare block if you obtained it before they changed the way these plants actually grow up, where the last stage now places it down instead of a crop and turns it into a plant, which offsets it, where this one's a fully grown one, but it's always centered. And because the only thing that changed was the final stage of the torchflower, it doesn't actually affect my automatic torchflower farm, which I'll have linked down below. We're now able to actually find the pink petals along with the other flowers right down here. They fixed a bug where calibrated sculk sensors when being placed down using fill command would be waterlogged by default. Camels are part of 1.20 and they're still fixing problems with them, such as they no longer will stay sitting when they're in the water. And they removed it so camels will no longer do this continuous dash thing when they're sitting inside of like a minecart or boat, which I showed a while ago and it was a lot of fun to play around with. And the dash animation will also show up properly for other people on servers. They also fixed this pathfinding issue when it comes to hostile mobs on horses, where they would pathfind like sideways and backwards. And in 1.19.4, they actually broke it, so a lot of times the skeleton horses wouldn't even move that much. So now they'll move once again. Before, when the player would use a brush, he would kind of rotate it from the center of it. So now he'll brush normally, and he'll no longer be able to brush and then start brushing right through a mob. And they now fix it, so if you put the pot on top of some entity, you can even put it on yourself, you can see the pot was hanging a little bit too far off the backside. It wasn't centered. So now they made it more centered. Now join me in playing with all these new features over at my Twitch livestream. You can find the link down below. And if you have Twitch or Amazon Prime, you can also support me over there for free, just by remembering to use your free subscription on me every month. You can learn more about 1.20 in this playlist here, or this one on how I'm designing an automatic farm for all the new 1.20 features. Thanks for leaving a like, and I'll see you next one. Bye bye!